Very well. It's about time I got to this conversion. Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drahon, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Conversion. Today is a request by one of you, dear viewers. And it's one that I have meant to do for a while. I've just been holding it off. As you could have seen from the intro, this is actually a transfer from my other channel, Theory Break. On that channel, I take care of theories from across the internet, or rather across the world, and debunk them. When I first started, I also did character conversion. But I decided to have Begin Download as its own channel. So that's what I did. And now we are going to convert one of the videos from over there and bring it over here. And that is what I'm doing today. Pit and Dark Pit from the Kid Icarus franchise. Now, in the original video, I made Pit and Dark Pit Rangers, which is pretty good, but it's also pretty basic. And I didn't really go into detail on their characters. I just said, here you go, this is what you can do, have fun. In this video, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with their character. So, we're going to start out, as usual, by stats by point buy. The point buy system is what we usually go with here on this channel, unlike other YouTubers, who may go by either the dice roll or by something called the standard point array. You do what you want to do, but we are doing the point buy system. Strength is going to be a 10. The two pits really aren't strong, but they're not weak either. They can still handle some pretty big weaponry. Dexterity is going to be our main stat with a 15. It's going to be one of our highest stats. Constitution is going to be a 14. We do not want them to die, especially not quickly. It is important to keep them alive. Intelligence is going to be a 10. It's kind of basic. Wisdom is going to be our next highest stat at a 14 as well, because of one of the classes we're going to be using. And charisma is going to be an 8. Don't be alarmed by this low number. It is going to be fixed by the race we will be using. Speaking of the race, we are going with the Osama, which is one of my favorite races in Dungeons & Dragons. Now, the Osama has 3 different subclasses you can go with. And we are going with Protector Osama for Pit and Fallen Osama for Dark Pit. Now, here's the funny thing about the characters of Pit and Dark Pit. From what I remember in my research, Pit does not have the ability to fly, at least not on his own. He needs the blessing from his goddess in order to fly. However, the Protector Osama, gains the ability to fly at level 3, which is the Radiant Soul ability. Now, Dark Pit, from what I can tell, doesn't need such a blessing. He can fly. But the Fallen Osama cannot fly. The Necrotic Shroud ability at level 3 gives him skeletal wings, but he can't use them for flight. He uses them to strike fear into his enemies. So that is the difference between canon Pit and Dark Pit and the Dungeons and Dragons versions we will be creating. While the canon versions can't fly on his own, the Dungeons and Dragons version can, and vice versa with Dark Pit. Now, the ability scores are drastically different as well. With Pit, you get a +1 to Wisdom, while Dark Pit gets a +1 to Strength. So our stats are going to be different for a little while, but we're going to make sure to make them the exact same later on. With both Aasimar, you get a +2 to your Charisma, which makes your Charisma average. So, we got a 15 on our Wisdom for Pit, and a 11 Strength on Dark Pit. Alright. Background. From my research, Pit is the leader of the goddess's army. Paltilina? Whatever it is. He is the leader of this goddess's army. First thing that comes to mind is Soldier. So the background for Pit is going to be Soldier. The proficiencies are going to be Athletics and Intimidation. Tools, you get one game set of your choice. I just picked playing cards just to do it. And you also get land vehicles. Specialty, you got Infantry. You get a feature, which is your military rank. Which just kind of makes sense. For Dark Pit, according to the lore, from what I remember, Dark Pit kind of plays both sides. He's Pit's rival, but also an ally. He kind of plays both sides of the field whenever it suits him. To me, that just says bounty hunter. So I went with the urban bounty hunter background. The skills are going to be Deception and Stealth. Tools, you get playing cards again, and Thieves' Tools. Feature is going to be Ear to the Ground. Suggested characteristics. I just went with what seemed right. I could be wrong about these personality traits, but they're the ones I decided to go with, because it just seemed right. Pit seems really childish and arrogant, but so I decided to go with something a little bit more simple. Dark Pit, well, he's kind of brooding. Don't make an edgelord when you play Dark Pit. That is the one thing you do not want to do. Dark Pit is a little bit more simpler than that. When you play an edgelord, you do not play well with others. Dark Pit, while he is slow to trust people, I would assume, he does play well with others. He will work with Pit when it best suits his needs. And that is the thing that you have to remember. Play with how your character would act, not as what you would want them to act. Now, if you were to build a Dark Pit that was an edgelord, by all means, play an edgelord. But if you're going with this particular build, don't do the edgelord. Those are kind of awful. Especially for a fallen Aasimar. That just seems rather cliche. I would say a fallen Aasimar is more looking towards redemption, trying to become one of the other two Aasimars. Or, with Dark Pit's situation, to become his own person. Get his own identity. Because according to the lore, Dark Pit is nothing more than a reflection of Pit, a shadow, if you will. For class, I decided to start with Ranger. And I can hear you in the comments. Drayhan, why are you picking Ranger? Ranger is so bad. And just like with the previous character builds that I've done Rangers for, they're not bad. There are some really good things you can do with a Ranger. And this build is going to prove that. Hit die is going to be a 1d10, and at first level you get 10 hit points plus your Constitution modifier, which is currently a 2, so you have some pretty good hit points. At higher levels you get a 1d10 plus your Constitution modifier per Ranger level. Proficiencies: you have light armor, medium armor, and shields. Weapons: simple weapons and martial weapons. Saving throws: dexterity and strength. Skills: for Dark Pit, grab the athletics skill. For regular Pit, grab stealth. You'll also want to grab insight and nature for both of them, because you get 3 skills. Favorite enemy: grab fiends, because both Pit and Dark Pit fight against the forces of darkness. Natural Explorer, your favorite terrain is going to be the mountains, because, well, that's where Pit came from. The mountains were technically heaven, but there's really not a heaven terrain, so mountain seems like the best one, kind of like Mount Celestia or something like that. Going up in another level, we're going to grab Fighter. You'll get a 1d10 hit die, and your extra hit points is going to be 1d10 plus your Constitution modifier per Fighter level. For fighting style, grab the 2-weapon fighting, because it is shown in a couple of pieces of art that Pit will wield 2 blades. So it comes to reason that we would have 2-weapon fighting style. Also grab these. You also have the second wind feature, which is pretty good. Level 2 Rangers, you also get a fighting style. Grab Archery. Archery will give you a +2 to your ranged attacks. So your bows, or in case of Kid Icarus franchise, you have special weapons that are kind of like guns, but they're also a melee weapon. Unfortunately, we don't have something like that in Dungeons and Dragons, so just some sort of special gun, basically, which we'll be talking about that later. Either way, the archery is a good fighting style to grab. Since you are a ranger at level 2, you get spellcasting, which is going to be using wisdom for your DC and your modifier. Level 2 fighter gains action surge. Level 3 ranger, you get a Ranger Conclave. Grab Horizon Walker. Horizon Walkers are protectors of the planes. They protect planes from outside threats. That just screams Pit. While it doesn't really scream Dark Pit, remember Dark Pit is nothing more than Pit's reflection. So everything Pit can do, Dark Pit can also do, if not better. With the Horizon Walker, you get a spell, which will be protection from good and evil. Evil and good, I got it backwards. You also get Detect Portal and Planar Warrior. As part of the Ranger class, you also get Primeval Awareness, which is pretty good. Level 3 Fighter also gets its own archetype. Grab Arcane Archer. You have Arcane Archer lore, which gives you a cantrip. Go ahead and just grab the one that's very hard to pronounce. Prestidigitation. And grab the skill Arcana. You also have the Arcane Shot feature, which lets you imbue magic into your arrows. well, not exactly great, because you'll probably be using some guns with your pit and dark pit. It is still decent. For your arcane shot, grab bursting arrow and piercing arrow. At level 4, we're going to start with pit's stats. Go ahead and increase your dexterity and your wisdom to a 16 if you just want to go with the ability score improvement. If you'd rather go with a feat, go with sharpshooter. This will help you with your ranged attacks. If your attack target is outside of your range, it does not impose disadvantage anymore. Your ranged weapons also avoid half cover and 3/4 cover. And finally, you can take a -5 penalty to your ranged attacks and get +10 damage to that attack if it manages to hit, which is pretty amazing. Moving on to Dark Pit when he increases to level 4 Ranger. Like with Pit, you'll grab the Sharpshooter feat if you do not want an ability score improvement. However, if you do decide to go with just the ability score improvement, grab 2 points in Wisdom, making it a 16. This will be important for later. At level 4 Fighter, if you did not take a feat, increase your strength to a 12. If you did take the feat from before, increase your dexterity and wisdom to a 16. With Dark Pit, increase your strength to a 12 and your dexterity to a 16. 1 point for each one. If you did take the feat, increase your wisdom to a 14. And if you haven't guessed, dexterity, wisdom, and strength on both Pit and Dark Pit will now be the same. At least for when you have not picked a feat. If you did pick a feat, we still have a little bit of work to do. At level 5 Fighter, you get an extra attack. Level 6 Fighter doesn't really get anything. But level 7 Fighter, thanks to your Arcane Archer, you get another magic arrow. You get magic arrow and curving shot. So your arrows now become magical for the purpose of going over the immunity or resistance. You also get another arcane shot option. For Pit, grab banishing arrow. For Dark Pit, grab enfeebling arrow. At level 8, Pit, just increase your dexterity to an 18 if you have not picked any feats. If you did pick a feat, put your strength at a 12, just like what we did before. And with Dark Pit, same thing. Take your dexterity to an 18 if you have not chosen a feat, but if you have taken a feat, increase your strength to a 12 and your dexterity to a 16. Now our stats are equal for both Pit and Dark Pit, no matter what happens. At level 9 Fighter, get Indomitable. Indomitable. There we go. Level 10 Fighter, grab the Arcane Shot option, Seeking Arrow for Pit, and Shadow Arrow for Dark Pit. Level 11 Fighter gets an extra attack. So now you can do 3 attacks when you make the attack action. At level 12 Fighter, if you have not grabbed any feats thus far, increase your wisdom modifier to 18. If you want to grab another feat, this is an Unearthed Arcana feat. So far, we have not done anything for Unearthed Arcana. This is technically a Adventures League legal build. But taking this feat is Unearthed Arcana. This is the Gunner feat. It gives you a +1 to your dexterity. So you are now at 17 for your dexterity. You gain proficiency with firearms, and you ignore the loading property for firearms. And being within 5 feet of hostile creature doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged attack rolls. So, no matter what anymore, you no longer have disadvantage on your attack rolls for ranged weapons. Whether it's outside of its normal range, or if it's too far in of its normal range. Which is pretty cool. Though it's only within 5 feet, so once it goes past that, once it's in between 5 feet and the minimum distance of your ranged weapon, you're kind of at a disadvantage. But it doesn't matter too much. Level 13th fighter gets Indomitable again, so you get 2 uses of it. At level 14th fighter, go ahead and increase your stats. Increase your dexterity by 1 and your wisdom by 1. If you took the gunner feat, go ahead and increase your dexterity to a 19, increasing it by 2. If you didn't take the gunner feat, this would be an 18. At 15th level fighter, you get the ever ready shot, and you also have arcane shot option grasping arrow. I feel like I was supposed to grab another one. Oh well. Oh, I did this again? Let me fix this real quick. At level 16 fighter, if you grabbed any feats, go ahead and increase your dexterity to a 20. And if you did grab that gunner feat, that means that it'll be 2 points onto your dexterity if you did not grab the gunner feat. But if you did not grab the gunner feat and kept it on, if you did grab the gunner feat, increase your wisdom to a 17. If you not grab any feats thus far, increase both your dexterity and your wisdom modifier to 20, putting them at their max stats. For your spells, at 2nd level ranger, you will get the 1st level spells of Cure Wounds and Hunter's Mark, which are pretty good. At 4th level ranger, you still only have 1st level spells: Cure Wounds, Hail of Thorns, and Hunter's Mark. Now for your equipment. Pitt's starting equipment is going to be the standard stuff for a ranger. Go with the leather armor, not the scale armor. We'll have 2 short swords, which is pretty good, especially when our first feat is going to be, our first fighting style is going to be the 2-weapon fighting. You also get a longbow, quiver, and 20 arrows. And then, of course, being a soldier, you'll have the special equipment for it. Dark Pit, however, will be getting the same thing of the ranger, but his background gives him a little bit more gold to work with, which is kind of funny. Now, for some recommendations. If a gun sword was available, I would say grab the gun sword. But we do not have gun swords in Dungeons & Dragons as of this video. We do, however, have the antimatter rifle, laser pistol, laser rifle as our guns. Now, the weapons from the Kid Icarus franchise are known as staves and blades. So, the closest things I can think of are the longsword for the blades, and the staves look like either a pike or a glaive. You also have weapons called the clubs. So a great club would be the best match for it. For magic items, some more unearthed arcana to go over. We have the tattoos, which we do have the closest ones to the palms, as they're called in Kid Icarus, are the Spell Rot tattoo, Blood Fury tattoo, Coiling Grasp tattoo, and Eldritch Claw tattoo. The palms are kind of like tattoos that have their own magical properties. So the Unearthed Arcana tattoos would be a good fit for this equipment. Now, as far as non-Unearthed Arcana, grab the Holy Avenger, the Oath Bow, and Arrows of Slaying, either Fiend or Monstrosity, because one of the main bosses is known as Medusa, and it just so happens there is a Medusa in Dungeons and Dragons, and they are considered monstrosities. And there is also Hades, which is technically Lord of the Underworld, so the best way to categorize him is Fiend. You also fight more Fiends throughout the game. It just makes sense to do either Fiend or Monstrosity for your Arrows of Slaying. That's all I've got for you today, viewers. If you want to see your recommendation, make sure, if you would like to recommend a character, there we go. I was messing up my words there for a second. If you would like to recommend a character for the next character conversion, be sure to leave a comment down below, just like our viewer today. Until next time, this has been Drehan, and I am offline.